Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, glad to beef you with the Game Vault. We're going to talk a little bit more about Ubisoft today and just my thoughts on this company and what we're going to be looking at from them into 2020, through the rest of 2024 and into 2025. Just some thoughts and so forth and so on. Let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. All right, so those of you who know. Those of you who don't, Assassin's Creed Shadows has been pushed back to February 14th of 2025 now. They canceled the I think it was November 10th release date and pushed it back a few months. And they've got reasons for that they stayed here about polishing the game, learning from their experience of Star Wars Outlaws, and how that came out unpolished and pissed off a lot of people. They're also bribing. I think it's a bribe. They're bribing people by saying that they're getting the first DLC for free. I think that is the single mission that was locked behind early access to the game, buying or pre-ordering the game or something like that, or buying the season pass. There was like one mission that was locked behind the Ultimate Edition or the Digital Deluxe or better, whatever they call it these days. So I think it's that. I'm not 100% sure. Let me know down in the comments if you know. But they released a statement on that from Mark Alexis Cote on behalf of the team working on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Nowhere do they address the fact that it's gotten so much backlash for the protagonist being of African descent in feudal Japan, and how silly that is and what a pandering move that was. They've gone too far, though. There's really nothing they can do about that. They'll never admit they were wrong on that one. And they are, and anyone who wants to argue that with me, feel free to try, but it's inarguable. It's stupid. There's no way to validate that character. There's nothing you can say that will make sense for that. So don't waste your breath and don't waste my time. But anyway, Ubisoft's been having a lot going on lately. The Outlaw sales, they were softer than expected, as they say, which means they sucked. And it slashes its net expected bookings by 30%. That's pretty bad, This is why, between this and Skull and Bones earlier this year, I think that's why Assassin's Creed has been moved to February, so that all of these don't land within the same year and create a financial disaster. I think they are saying from making a profit now they're going to breaking even for this fiscal year, something like that. And if Assassin's Creed Shadows was released, it also would underperform significantly. Again, it's not going to be, Star Wars wasn't a fail on launch, but sales were softer than expected. And that's exactly what I predicted with this. I said the IP itself and the fact that it's Ubisoft, and there's a lot of mindless, gamers out there who will buy anything Ubisoft just because of name recognition, or Star Wars because they're just, faithful to the brand, they're going to buy it. And that's fine. If that's you, man. I'd like to say, yeah, you're part of the problem and all that, but we all enjoy what we enjoy. And sometimes I buy things that, like I buy digitally, and I shouldn't, right? I buy digitally, and I shouldn't, and I'll admit that's a bad thing on my part, but, I've got my reasonings for it and my justifications for it, and whether or not they make sense to you doesn't matter. If you bought Star Wars Outlaw and you enjoyed it, good for you, man. If you, whatever the case may be. So anyway, yeah, the sales were softer than expected, and that kind of hurt. So they had to cut their net bookings from 500 million to 350 to 370 million. He's Guillemot, and let's look at this guy. He is probably going to be pushed out of his position, I would say, by 2025. That's my thought on this kind of thing. But he refuses to admit that they're wrong in pushing this weird DEI agenda that they seem to push in every game. Again, Star Wars Outlaws, we've got the Ma'am Solo, as they call her, just basically a female version of Han Solo. They uglified her, as they always do with these characters from the actor that portrays her, and yeah. And overall, it's just more of the same from Ubisoft. A big, bloated, open-world game with a lot of silly quests that are just, a lot of repetition and stuff like that, and kind of, I've heard it called soulless and something like, stuff like that. So it is what it is. I'll link to all these stories down below so you can guys check them out yourself. We're not going to read through them. But Giddy Malt claims the company's goal is not to push any specific agenda, despite the company's website saying otherwise. Here, I'm just going to go right to their website here, Ubisoft.com, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. I mean, we're putting DIA, so that they're rebranding it from DEI to DIA, so they can say we don't push DEI, but it's the same thing. It's just a different coat of paint on it. So don't let them lie to you about stuff like that. That's just like when Microsoft a couple months back announced they were closing down a DEI team. I think it was just one of however many they have. So maybe they just had one too many because of all the studios they're closing down. I don't know, but I feel like culture's shifting. I feel like this war is going to be shifting more and more in favor of the actual gamer himself rather than the activist developer and the activist journalist that just wants to break things down and subvert expectations and ruin gaming by injecting their own personal agendas into it and their beliefs and their politics and all that. Give us back good games that we could escape the world from, man. If I want to listen to a whole bunch of bullshit, I'll watch the news. I'll go on Twitter and listen to you clowns talk. If I just want to immerse myself in the game and get away from it, give me that freaking game and I'll buy it. And you won't hear a peep out of me for 2 months while I enjoy the hell out of that game. So, but, that's just me. But I'm sure I'm not alone on that. But yeah. Giddy Malt, I have a feeling you're going to be gilly gone soon. They're going to get the guillotine for Giddy Malt. But yeah. And this kind of reiterates some of the stuff about, the financials there, the 350 to 370 million. He also talks about addressing some of the polarized comments about Ubisoft. He wants to reaffirm that they're an entertainment-first company, which I believe they've proven they're not. Creating games for the broadest possible audience, nope. And our goal is to not push any specific agenda. Another lie. I mean, this guy could run for president here as a Democrat. He lies so much. We remain committed to creating games for fans and players that everyone can enjoy. So this right here is the problem. You can't make something that everyone will enjoy. It's impossible. Not everybody has the same taste. Not everybody enjoys the same things. What you've been making lately is you're catering to a small portion. You're making games that a lot of people could enjoy, right? But then you're also adding in things that a small group of people really like and a large group of people don't even pay attention to, and then another small group, but a group that's growing, can't stand, and that's the DEI crap, the gay nonsense, the trans agenda that we see all the time in these games, and making the girls look more like guys to appeal to the eye of the tranny, as they say, as opposed to pulling it away from the male gaze. These sort of things really ruin games, and the thing is, you don't notice them at first because they're kind of insidious and all that. But once you wake up and you start to see these things popping up in gaming, you see it everywhere, and you're like, oh my God, what happened? And then you can't unsee it. And then everything you see instantly triggers that thought, like, well, I feel like I'm being messed with again. I feel like they're taking something and subverting it. The latest, the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, which we're going to talk about tomorrow, we're going to talk about that one and how that relates to all of this. But it says they want to build the most creative, inclusive, and diverse teams across all fields, yada, yada, yada. But let's not forget that these guys also have a mentorship program that only mentors women and non-binary people, which don't even exist. That's not even a real thing. It's just a mental illness that people have. But yeah, so they are promoting women and mentally ill people into their company in a mentorship program, and that is why we're getting garbage from these guys, and that's why they're failing. And until they admit that they're wrong, we're never gonna, they're never gonna recover. Here's their 20 Together in Pride 2023 blog post, focus on queer representation in games. They're no strangers to designing queer characters. The first transgender operator in Rainbow Six Siege. Nobody asks for this, okay? Or the ones that do don't buy games. Or if they do buy games, there's such a small portion of people that for every one person that buys a game because you put in a transgender or a gay person, 1,000 don't buy it. Is it worth the trade-off? Is it really worth the trade-off? Here's the eligibility criteria. And I'm going to link down below again to these articles for you guys because we've covered a lot of this stuff before. But yeah, here's the eligibility criteria we were talking about for their program. Their mentorship program identifies a woman or non-binary individual. Right there, right at the top, first thing on the list. It's just absolute nonsense. And then last but not least, the financial analyst describes Ubisoft sales collapse and delaying of Assassin's Creed Shadows as a total meltdown as stock prices collapse. And here's where we are at the moment of filming, September 26th, 219 in US dollars right now. This is over a 5-year span here. So we can see it peaked at over $20 in 2021. That was the height of COVID. So I expect it to be high through there, but then it really kind of started dropping off and just really working its way down. It kind of pitted in 2022, and then again early 2023. That was probably after a financial report was released or something. And now it's bottom of the barrel, man. 219, and just a few years ago, we're looking at 90% drop off. That is huge. If you're going to buy Ubisoft stock, it's still kind of risky right now, but that would be the time to do it, just in case they fire Guillemot, get rid of all these activists, and start actually making real games again. But I'm not a financial advisor, so don't do that based on what I'm saying. But I'm like, damn, that might not be a bad thing. Of course, they could continue to fail and just go under completely. We don't know. Oh my god. But yeah, Valiant Renegade reacted to news that broke that Ubisoft was not only delaying the Assassin's Creed, on top of that, the company's also revised their entire year expectation to around break even instead of profitability. Yeah, I was talking about that. That's huge, right? They had high hopes for Outlaws, and they had high hopes for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I know they did. And I can see that they either have plants in some of these IGNs and stuff like that are talking all this stuff up, or they bought bot accounts to promote things and all that. Who knows, but both of those games look like they're going to underperform, and Ubisoft's going to suffer a lot. I know one of the investors recently called them out and requested some information and called out their practices of dealing with Sweet Baby Inc. and all that. And, these type of companies, and what are they doing? There's just been so many things gone wrong. You could write a book on how not to make a game on Assassin's Creed Shadows alone. But anyway, yeah, Ubisoft's made no comment. 10%. Yeah, he also agrees Yves Guillemot may not be the CEO there anymore before Assassin's Creed manages to release. And again, that is a big if, right? They did that with Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones was due out, I think it was somewhere between October and November a couple years ago, and then they delayed it till the following year. I think it was March. And then they delayed it even longer. I think it was for a significantly longer amount of time. I had pre-ordered it because I wanted to have it and I wanted to run it for the channel. I thought that would be a fun PvP type game to play. We get a lot of cool content from it and all that. But, once it was canceled twice, I was like, you know what? I'm jumping off this ship, so to speak. And I'm waiting for it to come out, and I'm going to see what's happening, because I don't trust this game and I don't trust this company anymore. And that had been around the times, too, that Ubisoft canceled some old games that people could no longer access, even the single-person part of it. And they said something along the lines of, it's time for you guys to get used to not owning your games. I know technically we don't own anything game-wise anymore. It's all about, getting that key so you can play it and unlock the game itself so you can play it. But, man, just to come out and say that, it's pretty brutal. Absolutely brutal. So what do you guys think about Ubisoft? Do you think they're going to be able to recover in 2025? I mean, this is kind of crazy what's going on there. There's a lot of bad things happening, a lot of negativity, and I don't know what we really got planned past Assassin's Creed Shadows. If they got their Far Cry 7 they're working on, which is going to be another hot mess. I don't know, man. I don't know. I thought there was supposed to be another Assassin's Creed. I remember they had all these things planned for it, like Infinity and this Assassin's Creed hub type thing where you could go launch different games from it. I don't know if they're scrapping all these plans, if those plans are made during the height of COVID when everybody was making money hand over fist and you could do no wrong, and then all of a sudden, boom, COVID's gone, and now the money's gone, and now all these projects are going to fall by the wayside. Who knows? Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think Yves Guillemot should step down and maybe put somebody in there in a position of power that can actually, promote making good games? Or do you think he should stick around and keep fighting the good fight? All in the name of DEI or DIA or whatever they want to call it right there. Anyways, before we go, This is a little bit from September 25th. This was just yesterday, actually, about the meeting of the board of directors where Ubisoft updates its financial targets. And just, I'll give you a little bit here. Assassin's Creed Shadows will now be released on February 14th, 2025. They state that the game's feature complete. The learnings from Star Wars Outlaw release led us to provide additional time to further polish the title. Maybe. This will enable the biggest entry in the franchise to fully deliver on its ambition, notably by fulfilling the promise of our dual protagonist adventure with Naoi and Yasuke, bringing two very different gameplay styles, and we're departing from the traditional season pass model. That's a good thing. If nothing else comes out of this but that's a good thing. Season passes shouldn't be there for single-player games. All players will be able to enjoy the game at the same time on February 14th, and those who pre-order the game will be granted the first expansion for free. The game will mark the return of our new releases on Steam day one. Okay, so maybe there's some good coming out of this if they abandon that whole season pass model. That might be the beginning of their redemption arc. You know, there's a lot more you guys got to do to redeem yourselves, but that's a good beginning there. You know, we'll have to see. I think they're waiting for the shit to stop flying off the blades of the fan, because it just recently hit the fan with these guys and it's made a mess of the room. I think they're going to kind of go underground a little bit. Like they did that with Skull and Bones. I remember when it was getting close to being released, there was all this negativity surrounding it and people were going crazy, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. They pulled it back. Boop. And I was wondering, I'm like, well, when are we going to hear anything? Because we didn't hear squat from them for a while. So they may go dark for a month or two and try to keep things quiet and let the hubbub die down, and hope that something else comes out that will distract a little bit, and then, you know, suddenly make their announcement, and who knows. Anyway, like I said, leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. I will see you guys next time. Until then, peace, man.